Hi, my name is Tiana Karamayas and I'm a Cavoodle puppy coach and breeder for Noodle Way and River City Puppies. As a coach, my philosophy is simple. A Cavoodle should always complement your lifestyle, not complicate it. And this is the foundation to everything I teach. For almost the past decade, I have been working in the breeding, training, grooming, and veterinary sectors of the small animal industry. I've also been raising Cavoodles for the past 16 years, so I have definitely learned a thing or two about the breed along the way. Now this podcast is all about Cavoodles. Raising Cavoodles, training Cavoodles, grooming Cavoodles, breeding Cavoodles, and how to shape the behavior of a Cavoodle puppy. So if you're a Cavoodle parent or you are looking at adding a Cavoodle to your family soon, then this podcast is for you. New episodes will be released each Tuesday morning, and you can follow me across all social media under the name @OodleWay for more tips and advice on Cavoodles. Thanks for tuning in. Hello and welcome back to the Cavoodle Coach podcast. My name is Tiana Karamayas and I'm your host and your Cavoodle puppy coach. And in today's episode, I want to talk about a really important topic that has been on my mind the last few weeks. Now, firstly, what I want to say is thank you so much for tuning in for another year of this podcast. I know it's been a little while since the last episode. I ended up taking a much longer break over Christmas than I expected, but it was good to step away from the podcast because now I'm coming back and I have so many brand new ideas of some really good topics we can talk about. And it's mainly because each week over the past sort of 6 to 8 weeks, I've been doing my weekly Q&A sessions with all of the families inside my Cavoodle Training Academy program, and the same questions and the same issues have been popping up over and over and over again, and it gave me some really good topics that we can talk about, and it's also defined this episode. Or created this episode. It was the reason why I'm creating this episode. And it's all about the best and the worst time to actually bring a Cavoodle puppy home. Now, here in Australia, the Christmas break is the biggest break of the year for school children. So usually primary school kids and high school kids will have between 6 to 8 weeks off over the Christmas holidays. That's our summer holidays. I know overseas in America, it is a little bit different, but here in Australia, it's over Christmas. And this is also the most popular time of the year for families to get a puppy. A lot of parents are also on holidays, and because the kids are at home, parents are on holidays, it tends to just be the most logical time of the year to get a puppy. But it's actually one of my least favorite times of the year to get a puppy, and it was only confirmed even further this year when week after week over the past 8 weeks, I got the same questions and the same problems, and it was families saying how hard it was to train the puppy while the kids were at home, and that they actually couldn't wait for the school holidays to end so the kids could get back to school and they could finally get the puppy into routine. And as I heard these questions and these problems arising each week, I just kept nodding along because yes, the school holidays is one of the hardest times to get a puppy, and the Christmas school holidays is actually not when I would recommend getting a puppy. So let's talk about this a little bit further. Why is it so hard? And what are the pros and the cons? Because of course there are some pros, some very special pros, but in my opinion, the cons kind of outweigh it in this situation. So over the school holidays, the kids are at home. What would be the pros of getting a puppy? The pros of getting your Cavoodle when the kids are at home is obviously the kids have a lot more time to spend with the puppy. And for kids who have been waiting for a puppy for a very long time, this is such a special time period. They are so excited. The last thing they want to do is go to school and spend 8 hours at school and miss the whole day with the puppy. And so of course, from a child's perspective, the school holidays is a great time for a puppy because they get to spend all their time, all day, every day with the puppy. It's special. They get to have lots of cuddles, play with the puppy, help train the puppy, smother the puppy in all these treats and toys and all of that fun stuff. So from the kids' perspective, it's a lot of fun. It's perfect. It is literally a dream come true. I, for one, know if I think back to when I was a child and when I got my first Cavoodle, Oscar, we got him over the Easter holidays, or just after the Easter holidays. And I remember absolutely hating that I had to go to school. I remember begging my parents and just saying, please, can I stay home? I don't want to go to school. I want to be with Oscar. I want to be with the puppy. Let me stay home. They ended up sending me to school, of course, but I know how it feels as a child to get that puppy you've been waiting for so long and then be told it's time to go to school. It's the worst. So from a kid's perspective, yes, they absolutely would love to have the puppy over the school holidays. But from the puppy's perspective, is it what the puppy wants? And this is the part where we really need to think about where our priority lays when we are getting a Cavoodle puppy. Now, obviously, I am a really big advocate for really doing a lot of hard work in the beginning with your new puppy to really set them up for success. And if you do the hard yards now, you get to reap the benefits later on. And so that first month, that first 2 months with your Cavoodle puppy, it has to be full of a lot of routines, structure, guidance. We need to be shaping the behaviors, training our puppy, showing them what's right, what's wrong. It requires a lot of time. And for a little puppy who has their own little brain, their own little opinions, their own desires, sometimes the last thing they want is to be picked up and carried around everywhere, all day, every day. And it's actually where I see a lot of puppies struggle with a bit of aggression around children, because the children are invading the puppy's space too much. They're not respecting the puppy's boundaries. They're picking the puppy up when the puppy doesn't want to be picked up. And so then the puppy growls or bites or snarls or runs away. And this is really hard for the puppy, obviously. And it's really hard for the children because it breaks the children's heart. The family thinks they have an aggressive puppy. And the puppy is left in this state of stress, anxiety, frustration because they want one thing and these humans keep invading their space, moving them around and doing exactly what they don't want. And when we have an environment where a puppy feels frustrated or irritated or anxious or stressed, that is going to bleed into their behavior the rest of the day. And when we are getting a puppy and we're spending all this time really trying to shape and cultivate some really good behaviors out of them, calmness, teaching them how to regulate their emotions, love, like having them be very loving and affectionate, we need to create the right environment for this to happen. And depending on the age of the kids, younger kids can really struggle to make this happen. They have the best intentions, of course. They just want to shower and smother the puppy in love, but it's not always received that way from the puppy's end. So when we are getting our Cavoodle puppy, we need to think about where our priority lies. And it can absolutely be really hard for the children to go to school all day, but it can actually end up creating the best kind of relationship between them and the puppy, because it means we can spend a lot more time with our puppy throughout the day, helping them, guiding them through the right behaviors, doing our training. And then when the kids get home from school in the afternoons or in the mornings before school, we can create some structured activities where they can have interaction, but the boundaries of our puppy can be respected. And then our puppy can learn how to be calm with the children, to not bite the children out of frustration. And the children can also have a sense of responsibility because it can really help them understand the training requirements of the puppy and the boundaries and the rules we have to have in place throughout the training period. But in small doses, because if we had children at home all day and we had to tell them, okay, the puppy needs to sleep now, the puppy needs some alone time now, the puppy has to go out for socialization now, and we put rule after rule on these children, that can be really hard for them to follow along with and understand, especially if they are young. Now, from the parent's perspective, so whoever is the adult in the house, here are some reasons, some things that you will run into if you have children at home at the same time as having your brand new puppy. What you're going to run into is a lot of communication problems between you and your puppy and the kids. When we have our puppies, we all know they don't speak English. They're dogs and we are humans. We speak two different languages. And those first couple of months together, we are really trying to help our puppy understand our language and creating a communication channel between us and the dog so that they can ask us for things and we can request things of them and we can both mutually want to listen to them and do them. But when we have kids at home and the adults in the household are trying to do one thing, trying to teach the puppy one way of communicating, and then the puppy tries to display this to the children, but the children completely miss that body language signal the puppy was doing, then the puppy goes, oh, well, that didn't actually work. And then the puppy reverts back to the things that are natural to them. And for communication for puppies, the behaviors that are natural to them is biting, jumping, barking, pulling on clothes, anything like that, which is obviously the complete opposite of what we want them to be doing around the children. So when you are the parent, it can be really frustrating if you are trying to put all this effort into training a puppy and the children are unintentionally ruining this and pretty much not allowing it to happen. Because when it comes to puppies and how they learn, repetition and consistency is the key. If we tell them one thing and someone else tells them the other, nothing can be learnt. They get confused and they get frustrated, and then they bite some more and bark some more and jump some more. And so it can be this really horrible cycle we get into. Whereas what we really need to do is we need to tell our puppy one thing, explain one thing to them, set up the expectation of one kind of behavior, such as, can you come and sit at my feet if you want my attention? And then we need everyone in the house to follow along. Again, if we have young children, that's going to be really hard. And so if we choose to get our puppy not on the school holidays, it can give you some more time at home with the puppy without the children around to actually try and see some progress in your training with them. From a parent's perspective as well, the frustration that can be felt when you are trying to train a puppy and put all the effort in and then not seeing the results, and then also dealing with the kids crying or complaining because the puppy keeps biting them, or just seeing chaos and ridiculous amounts of energy in the house from the puppy when they're zooming around and chewing things and destroying things and biting things, it is going to put you into the puppy blues so much more quickly and so much more deeply than you otherwise could have experienced if you didn't have the children and the kids at home at the same time. If you don't know what the puppy blues are, it's a very, very common, very, very normal experience. It's when, usually a few weeks after you get your puppy, you can be very sad because you're exhausted and you miss your life and the flexibility life offered before you got your puppy. And you can go through a period where you just really miss that life. You miss that freedom, that flexibility. It doesn't mean you don't love your puppy, but you can definitely miss how it was before they were at home, because puppies are a lot of work. They're like babies. It's a big time commitment. And sometimes with the puppy blues, depending on how severely you're experiencing them, if things are going wrong, the puppy's weeing everywhere, the puppy's up all night, the puppy bites you every time you try and touch them, the kids are screaming, there's mess everywhere. If you're experiencing this is when you can even start to regret getting your puppy. And it's a horrible place to be in, because then you have so much guilt over it, because your puppy is just trying to show you love and you want to show them love, but now suddenly you're exhausted, you're frustrated, you just are missing your life how it was before, and you feel so guilty for feeling this way. And so that's why when we're getting a puppy, we really have to think about, how are we going to set this up so that we can get through this puppy stage with as little puppy blues as possible? And usually having children at home at the same time as a brand new puppy isn't going to help this situation. Again, it depends on the age of your children, but usually, depending on the age of the children, they have to be teenagers and into their teenage years for them to really understand what you are teaching, and not just understand it, but actively want to be involved in it. Are they actively going to sit down and learn all of the theory and the training exercises that you then have to train the puppy to do? If they're not really willing to do that, if they're not dedicated enough to do that, you'll still struggle with the same behaviors, because no matter the age of the children, if the family members in the home are not responding, reacting, and guiding the puppy the same way, that's what creates that miscommunication. And that is when your puppy will revert back to their natural way of communication. Biting, barking, jumping, chewing, everything we don't want to see. So children, puppies, I love them together, but sometimes doing it when it's not school holidays is going to help set you up for success a little bit better. Now, obviously there's another side to this. A lot of families take time off over the school holidays. They get a break from work. Maybe they take a couple of weeks over Christmas, 2, 3, 4 weeks, whatever it is. And so that's also another reason why families decide to get their puppies over the school holidays, because possibly it's the only time of the year that you can get time off. And I understand this. When you are getting a puppy, we do need to take time off. Usually, as a preference, I like families to take 1 week off. That's going to be the best amount of time, because we need enough time to help the puppy settle in, get into a little bit of a routine, build up your Cavoodle's confidence so that they can be on their own. But then it's really important to get back into routine, because if we spend weeks and weeks and weeks in a once a year routine and then suddenly work comes back and everything changes, our puppies can still suffer from a lot of anxiety that way. So usually just a week is what I really recommend families to take. And that's why I really encourage you to really take your time when you're thinking about getting a puppy. Don't make a spur of the moment decision. Don't just get a puppy because you saw a cute puppy online from a breeder, advertising a new litter. Or don't just get a puppy because you've walked past the pet shop and you saw one. We need to put a lot of thought into it, and we need to try and make the best work arrangements possible. And if that means taking a week off halfway through the school term, if that's going to be the best thing for your puppy and for your kids and for you, we need to make sure work will allow this. And so it might mean giving work a lot of notice in advance to say we need this week off. And then working alongside a breeder, seeing what time the litters are born, when you actually pick your puppy up, getting into the right training program. It takes a lot of thought. But all in all, I really would recommend you to try and think about when you're going to take your annual leave, and to try and do it at a time where the kids are maybe at school, because it does make things a lot easier. I have a lot of families that I work with. The majority of the families that I help train their Cavoodle puppies, they have children, and time again, it's always the kids are making this harder. I can't wait for school to go back so the kids can go back to school and I can have some time alone with the puppy. The puppy is biting and jumping and acting all crazy around the children. How do I stop this? And time again, a lot of this could have been avoided, or at least been a little bit easier if the kids weren't home on school holidays. So there's a whole bunch of reasons as to why I don't always recommend getting a puppy over the school holidays. I really think the best time of year to get a puppy is when you can have a quiet home, you can take a week off mid-term, and you can just focus all of your attention on the puppy without also having to manage the children at home. That's going to give you the best time to help shape some good behaviors in your puppy, set up some good communication channels between you and your puppy, and actually start to see some results. We can achieve a lot within a week within a puppy. We can achieve a lot within 4 weeks with our puppy. But again, I never recommend taking 4 weeks off for a puppy. We have to get back into our normal routine as quickly as possible. However, I am just going to jump in here and just say, this does not mean going back to work 5 days a week and leaving your puppy home all day, every day alone. Cavoodles don't cope well with this. If you're looking at getting a Cavoodle, the best families for this are ones who have more flexibility. So can you work from home a few days a week? Can you come back at lunchtime for your puppy? Can you take your puppy with you to work? Cavoodles are not the breed to be left home alone 5 days a week. They don't cope very well. So we need flexibility within our routine. We have to get back into our routine after about a week with our puppy, but that routine should not be leaving them alone all the time. That is not what a Cavoodle needs in their lifestyle. And I really just want to emphasize that, because I get a lot of questions from families, and we have to always put the puppy first. What's going to be the best environment, best lifestyle for our puppy? We can't have them feeling neglected, anxious, sad, bored. That's not fair on them. So your lifestyle has to match a Cavoodle, and if it doesn't, you can look at another breed of dog. But also we have to make sure that we don't stay at home with our new puppy too long, because that can also cause a whole lot of issues. So I hope this episode has been helpful. I assume a lot of the families listening to this episode are families who are thinking about getting a puppy on the school holidays. Hopefully you now know what to expect. Maybe you still want to do it. Maybe you want to do it at a different time. Either way, it's really important that you do as much preparation as possible before your puppy comes home. What I mean by this is, if you are trying to learn how to do different training exercises, sleep routines, toilet training when your puppy is at home, it's really overwhelming and it's really hard. It always works better if you learn how to do all this before your puppy comes home, and that way when your puppy actually arrives home, it's second nature to you and you know how to do everything. And that's why I really wanted to make sure that any families who join my Cavoodle Training Academy actually get access to the whole program, every single video module, every bit of support in there for an entire year. And that means that when your puppy is born, you can join the program then and have 2 months to learn the content, learn how to train a dog, set up the house properly, teach the kids properly before your puppy actually arrives home. It makes all the difference. If you want to avoid those puppy blues, we have to be as prepared as possible and know what to expect. And that only happens if we actually do our study and our learning before we're actually in the situation of having a new puppy. So if you're thinking about getting a Cavoodle, if you have one who's been born, on their way, you have a breeder picked out, it's definitely the time to start learning how to train a Cavoodle, setting up the house, buying the right things, teaching the children, and I would love to show you how to do this through my Cavoodle Training Academy. Again, you get 365 days access. Once your puppy actually comes home, it's 4 weeks of training. So do the maths. We have a lot of time up your sleeves. It's never too early to join. And I always love it when families join as far in advance before getting their puppy. The last thing I wanted to say before I close up this episode is when I would actually recommend getting a puppy. And for this here, I do have some more things to keep in mind. So number one, we keep in mind, what are the kids up to? Is it school term? Is it school holidays? I always recommend school term. The next thing though that I really like to think about is what travel or holiday plans do you have planned for the year ahead of you? When you're getting a puppy, ideally, if you can be home for 6 months and not go away on a holiday, that is going to be the best thing possible. Because when you get your puppy, the first couple of months, we have a lot of training, a lot of socializing to do. If we take our puppy out of routine, if we leave, if someone looks after them, if they go stay at someone else's house, this throws everything out of whack and our puppies can really regress backwards. And also, after those first couple of months, they then have hormone changes happening because they're getting closer to their teenage years. The little girls will go on heat, the boys have rises in testosterone. And again, if we're changing their routine, if we're going on holidays, we're missing some really crucial and critical periods of development with our puppy where they really need us. So if you're getting a puppy, when you're picking the time of the year to get your puppy, look at what's not the school holidays firstly, and then also a time where for the next 6 months, you're not going to be going away anywhere. At the very most, if you're going away for a weekend, okay, that's all right. But if we can avoid going away completely, that's going to be the best thing for your puppy and you'll get the best trained, most well-behaved, most well-adjusted Cavoodle possible. So when you're picking your time of the year, think about the kids and think about the holidays you have planned. Both are really important questions, and also whether you're moving house. Moving house does not help either. So be settled in the one place for the next 6 months, and that is the best time to get your puppy. Okay, I think that's it for this episode. I'm really glad to be back. I'm really excited to be back. If anyone has any topic requests, please feel free to email me at any time. It's hello@oodleway.co. Send me your topic requests. If it's a question that I get commonly asked or a topic I commonly talk about with families, then I might add into an episode. I'm always looking for ideas, and I always want to hear from you, the families of Cavoodles, of what you want to hear on this podcast. So let me know. And if there's anyone you want me to reach out to see if we can get them onto the podcast, any vets, any other trainers, behavioralists, groomers, anything like that, breeders, again, let me know who they are and I'll reach out and see if we can get them on the podcast. Okay, so that's it for this episode today. I will see you next week for the next episode of the Cavoodle Coach podcast. I'll see you later. Bye.